Tansei, I'm Krisanachkite. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime. A woman from the Thunderchild First Nation in Saskatchewan has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder following a triple homicide. According to Saskatchewan RCMP, 3 men with gunshot wounds were found on a property northwest of Turtleford on Wednesday just after noon. RCMP say someone reported 3 injured people, and when officers and paramedics arrived, life-saving measures were attempted, but all 3 men were declared dead on scene. 2 of the men have been identified. Investigators are still trying to identify the 3rd victim. 25-year-old Madison Patty Jimmy from Thunderchild First Nation has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder in the death of Tonio Cantel from Island Lake First Nation. Multiple firearms were also seized from the property. Patty Jimmy made her first court appearance today in North Battleford. RCMP are not releasing the names of the 2 other victims. The investigation continues this week. Yukon RCMP in Whitehorse closed off a section of a park in the city's northeast side on Thursday afternoon following a sudden death investigation. On Thursday, November 6th at around 3 p.m., RCMP and the Yukon Coroner Service received a report of a sudden death in the Shipyards Park area. RCMP closed off most of the park to the river, and the public were asked to avoid the area. The scene was later cleared in the evening just after 9:20 p.m. yesterday. RCMP say the investigation is still in its early stages. If anyone has information on what happened, you are asked to contact RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Manitoba RCMP is asking for the public's help in locating a woman in her 30s who has been missing for 3 weeks. RCMP says 36-year-old Miranda LePage hasn't spoken with her family since October 17th, and her family is concerned for her well-being. RCMP said they didn't receive a missing persons report for LePage until November 1st. LePage was living at an address on Carleton Place in Thompson, and efforts to try and locate LePage in Thompson have since failed. Miranda LePage is 5'5", 120 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. If anyone knows where LePage is, you are asked to contact RCMP. Thompson is located 760 kilometers north of Winnipeg. The Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, or ASIRT, has cleared 2 RCMP officers in the shooting death of 15-year-old Hoss Lightning Saddleback. The youth was shot several times in Wetaskiwin in August of 2024. Their investigation concluded that the officer believed that Lightning Saddleback had a gun in the backpack he was holding and pointing at him. It says that the officer fired several shots after repeated warnings to put his hands up, but the 15-year-old continued to approach with his arm raised, with the backpack covering his hand. Lightning Saddleback died on the scene. No gun was found. APTN will continue to bring you reactions to this decision in the coming days. A new report is out that says geography limits the access to justice in Northern Ontario communities when it comes to sexual assaults. The survivors group She Matters released the report earlier this week. According to researcher Patty Derbyshire, survivors have little to no access to sexual assault evidence kits or forensic exams, and that fewer Indigenous women report their assaults due to a deep mistrust of and systemic racism in the healthcare and criminal justice systems. Derbyshire says one recommendation is a community-based approach by having continuous access to culture in the healthcare system.
So the other part of this idea of a community-first model is also inviting knowledge holders and some of those matriarchs into medical schools, so that this idea of relationship first, of folks being able to bring culture as protective and as reparative, is really well understood by young nurses, physicians, even the clerks who are doing the intake in care facilities and hospitals. So important.
The Manitoba bill to detain people high on drugs causing public disturbances for up to 72 hours passed Wednesday evening. Some say the quick turnaround for the bill, first tabled at the beginning of October, still has room for improvement and might not be effective. APTN Sav Jones reports.
Manitobans publicly high on drugs may be detained for up to 3 days now that a new bill was passed in the provincial legislature on Wednesday. Bill 48, or the Protective Detention and Care of Intoxicated Persons Act, mainly hopes to address the meth crisis affecting the province. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says intoxicated people will be detained when they are, quote, causing a problem in the community.
The person who is too caught up in their addiction to be able to take care of themselves is no longer going to decide how safe the rest of the community is. Instead, the rest of the community is going to step up, get them the treatment that they need, but most importantly say, we're taking back our streets, we're taking back our communities, we're taking back our bus stops, and we're going to make Manitoba safe again.
Alongside the bill comes a new detox facility in Winnipeg's downtown core where people will be held, assessed by healthcare professionals, and offered addiction support. The Conservative opposition scrutinized its location, which is across the street from a school, but Kinew says it should be open as soon as late November and will have 20 holding units to start.
The conditions of the existing facility where the police take somebody when they're acting up like this, it's pretty rough. The new facility is going to be more humane, more dignified, but most importantly, it's going to be somewhere where somebody who's causing problems on drugs can be taken so that they're not in the emergency room waiting room. They're not at the bus stop. They're not bugging you while you're trying to go to the grocery store.
Kinew and Manitoba's addictions minister, Bernadette Smith, say the 72-hour maximum confinement at the facility is necessary for individuals under the influence of methamphetamines, as the substance takes longer to leave their system. Those brought to regular detention centers will not be held longer than 24 hours. Leah Gazan is the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg Centre, the area where the facility and most of Winnipeg's unhoused population resides, of which 71% say they use substances like meth, according to the 2024 Street Survey by End Homelessness. She has concerns on whether Bill 48 is charter compliant and worries some officers may detain people who are not on meth because it requires saliva or urine to test, unlike alcohol with breathalyzers.
So how do you determine, if you're not a trained psychiatrist or somebody with a psychiatric training, whether the person's behavior is attributed to, again, meth, a psychotic episode, or a bipolar disorder?
She says some community organizations have raised issues with the bill stigmatizing people who use drugs.
I think this is a very complex issue, but the reality is we know carceral approaches and forced treatment through ample research are ineffective. Forced treatment doesn't work. We need to deal with the root causes of this issue.
Sav Jones, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Earlier this month, APTN spoke with Big Stone Cree Nation Chief Andy Aluk in Treaty 8 territory in Alberta. He talked about the economic prosperity and new investments in the community, such as a new school and housing. He criticized the federal and provincial governments for not responding quickly enough during this summer's wildfire, which destroyed dozens of structures on the nation. He also told APTN that he intended to run again for chief in next year's elections. On Wednesday afternoon, the band issued a release indicating that Chief Aluk had submitted his resignation. The resignation was accepted by council. However, no reason was given for the chief's resignation and no reasons were given for the council's acceptance of it. We'll follow this story in the coming days. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. When we come back, we'll take you to a language conference in Saskatoon. Stay with us. Welcome back. People recently gathered in Saskatoon to learn more about how connecting with their culture can help in their healing journey. As CTV's Hallie Mandrick reports, that journey starts with language.
There was a spotlight on learning during day 2 of the 2025 First Nations Language Keepers Gathering. The featured panel, titled Learner's Journey on the Sacred Path of Language, showcasing how the next generation is keeping Indigenous language alive.
They're actually online, inspiring people to pick up the language, whether they be teenagers, whether they be people in their 30s or 40s, or even more seasoned people. It's very inspirational to hear the youth and how they are inspiring language revitalization.
One of the panelists, Iski Esqueu, recalled how reconnecting with her language was an important part of her healing journey.
And I went down a really bad road for a little bit, and when I got better, the language started to come back a little bit. And I noticed, like, for a lot of years that I was running away from my language when I moved to the city. And when I got better, I had to realize that I had to be who I was in my identity. So it makes me feel whole learning my language.
The panelist now travels around to different communities as an influencer and comedian, often promoting how folks can reconnect with their culture. Brander says people like Iski Esqueu are crucial in keeping language alive for future generations.
By being able to engage young people, we ensure that the ancestors' voices are heard in the future. And so, by working with elders, by working with language champions, youth are able to inspire the next generation.
Much of the conference also focused on overcoming the challenges that come along with learning a language, especially one that was not allowed to be spoken for a number of years.
It's that intergenerational cycle of shame back here. Even me, I still get it. I get nervous when I speak Korean. I start saying words wrong, but we have to show our young people that it's okay to make a mistake, because when we make that mistake and we laugh about it, we remember it, and then we don't make that mistake next time.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Nunavut Departments of Education and Transportation, along with Infrastructure Nunavut, held public information sessions on the future of Iqaluit elementary schools. As APTN's Justin Hardy tells us, the discussion sought input on the best path forward for 2 schools in Iqaluit and 1 school in neighboring Apex.
Educators, parents, and concerned community members were gathered for each of the input sessions. Top of mind for many coming into the discussion were worries of amalgamation, combining some of the schools in the district. Presenters said these concerns were also brought forward at last year's input sessions.
And as a result of that feedback, we determined that those 2 options were essentially non-viable. We've taken them off the table.
Throughout each input session, those in attendance had lots of opportunity to ask questions and voice their concerns. One community member, Kathy Hansen, says one of her concerns was possible locations for new schools that are one of the options being looked at.
Where option 1, 2, and 3 were going to be. I was a little bit worried about one of the options being close to the hotel where there's a bar.
Department of Education Capital Planning Manager Barry Korthwaite says he's happy with how the consultants handled the sessions.
Most of them got the questions answered. The ones that weren't answered, there were takeaways. And I know the consulting team will adjust with the questions they weren't able to answer and adjust it moving forward when they actually develop the business case.
While she did get her questions answered, Hansen says she's concerned with how accessible the sessions were.
I'm a little bit worried about the way they answered about reaching out to the elders, especially for Inuit Kayumajitokangit, and a lot of our elders are caretakers of younger children.
The feedback gathered from these community sessions will be combined with data collected last year to help build the plan for the future of elementary schools in the district. Justin Hardy, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
A social worker in Kugluktuk, Nunavut is concerned for some of her clients who bank with Royal Bank of Canada. Araba Imperum says an alarming number of community members cannot get help with their locked or inaccessible RBC accounts when they need it most. With an RBC branch which could cost thousands of dollars. Ibrahim says clients who have trouble participating in virtual meetings cannot access services, and she herself was denied being able to help clients during these meetings. When asked, RBC issued a statement that reads, "Clients who reside in remote or isolated areas without reasonable access to an RBC ATM or RBC branch and require a client card PIN reset may contact us by phone to initiate this request without the need for the client to appear in person at a branch." Ibrahim says she wants RBC to make sure and see if they are actually helping remote Nunavut clients.
It's the hurdles that they have to jump through, or the ropes that all the things that they have to do in order to get back into their account, which is not really supportive of a community where technology, some people, there are quite a few people who don't have the latest technology and can't engage in the kind of support that RBC offers. And so they're coming to social services to say, hey, like, I can't feed my kids right now because I can't get into my account. Or they're giving me a hard time. Can you talk to them on my behalf?
We now want to tell you about this week's 3 web poll questions. Our first question we asked was, will bail and sentencing reform help lower the rate of violent crime? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Our second question was, does your community have a plan to combat the opioid crisis? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. And our last question was, do you think the federal budget will help people living in Canada? Again, you can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. A First Nation in BC is entering into the casino business. That story after the break. On the East Coast, Halifax 7, St. John's 4. Nain 4 in rain, La Grande River -3. Val d'Or 0, St. Jovite 2. Sarnia 9, Ottawa 3. 3 in Sudbury and showers, Elliott Lake 7. -9 in Puckatawagan, Thompson -7. -6 in Gimli, Barons River -7 and sunny. -3 in Regina, Saskatoon -6. Meadow Lake -8, La Ronge -9. Cloudy in Peace River at 2, Grand Prairie 4. Lethbridge 8, Red Deer 5. Tofino 10, Bellacoola, showers and 1. Sandspit 8 in showers, Prince Rupert 7. -6 in Beaver Creek, Mayo -5. -4 in Wrigley, Fort Simpson -2. Colville Lake -7, Deline -6. Chesterfield -6, Whale Cove -6. And Iqaluit -5, Aglulic -8. Thanks for staying with us. It's Friday, and that means we have a brand new preview of what's coming up on this evening's edition of Nouvelle Nationale. Kim Sullivan from Montreal joins us now. Tantse, Kim.
Hey, Creason. The best in Quebec's music industry is celebrating this week with Les Disques. It's our version of the Junos, if you wish. And more than a few Indigenous artists were nominated in several categories. We met with them on the red carpet. We also flew to Disney World Orlando for a day of laughter and magic with a group of deserving Quebec children, 10 of which from local communities here. And rapper Samian stopped in studio to talk about men's health and more specifically men's mental health. That's tonight, 6:30 Eastern.
Thanks, Kim. The Snuneymuxw First Nation, in a partnership with Canadian Entertainment Group, is all in and betting on a brighter future for their community. Our reporter Ryan Cunningham now in Vancouver for more on this story.
On Thursday, October 30th, Chief Mike Weiss of the Snuneymuxw First Nation announced they were investing in the future by purchasing 2 more casinos.
We are here this morning to announce that Snuneymuxw First Nation has entered into agreements to purchase 2 more casinos from our trusted partners at Great Canadian Entertainment. Snuneymuxw is purchasing River Rock Casino Resort and Chances Maple Ridge.
In 2024, Nanaimo purchased Casino Nanaimo and Elements Casino Victoria on Vancouver Island. Now, with 4 casinos, the community is moving towards financial independence and sovereignty.
It's huge. So yeah, like when they first announced it, it was just like goosebumps all over my body, and I was like, it feels like our ancestors are proud of us, and they're here with us, and they're like, yes, finally.
Other members expressed their hope for the opportunities this will give their people.
I think it's going to be beneficial from our oldest members to our youngest members, being able to get proper educations and proper, having proper schooling and moving forward with education is going to be able to prosper our children in the future.
Kim Good spoke to me about the transformative power these investments will have for all generations.
There's also a unity that's coming into place for our nation, and I think there's an excitement in the air that we've never experienced before in our lifetime. So to see what is going on for our nation is just so heartwarming, so exciting to see us finally coming onto a map that is so huge and we're recognized today.
With an elated crowd, Chief Weiss said what this means for the Nanaimo people.
Our time is now. We look forward to closing this definitive agreement, taking ownership of these 2 assets, and taking another rightful economic step forward. This is our legacy and our responsibility.
When asked about the purchase price of the casinos, they were not prepared to disclose that information at this time. Ryan Cunningham, APTN National News, Vancouver.
And finally for us, inspired by Alaska's Fat Bear Week, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department held their own inaugural Fat Animal Week competition this October, but with a twist. Their words, not ours. Fat Squirrel Week took place with the final showdown between Chunk Norris and Chunkosaurus Rex, with Chunkosaurus Rex taking home the title. Chunkosaurus Rex's home is located in Dinosaur Valley State Park, and he's a bit of a local legend and is said to flex his round physique near picnic tables. Chunkosaurus is known for carrying 3 acorns at once with no hands and falling out of a tree and pretending it was on purpose. 16 squirrels represented different Texas state parks, and after making it to the final bracket in voting, Chunkosaurus beat Chunk Norris by 83 votes. Chunkosaurus Rex can be seen beside a waffle for size comparison. The Battle of the Chunks has named its first champion, and next year we hope to see more competitions, hopefully in Canada as well. And that is the most times I said chunks and Chunkosaurus in a newscast. Mark that on your calendar. That's all the time we have for APTN National News Daytime. Our reporters will have more stories for you for, this evening's newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.